Madam Vice Chancellor and President, members of the Board of Governors, colleagues, graduates, families, friends, and Don Wiles' family, welcome. It's my honor to present to you Professor Emeritus Donald Wiles, who's been closely involved on many fronts at Carleton for over 50 years. That's half a century. I've known Don for most of this time. That says something about me, I guess. He was the second person I met when I came to Carleton to join the Department of Chemistry in 1962. I was only 9 years old at the time. At that time, he gave me accurate, long-lasting advice on my new career, the inner workings of this young institution at the time, including potential landmines that one may appear from time to time, and all of this in 10 minutes in a corridor, and is still true today. His openness, energy, and frankness were refreshing, and to all of us who know him, they still are. He exuded the enthusiasm and drive that made Carleton an exciting place to work, and it still is. And his passion has not changed. His passion has not changed, as I said, for a long time, as generations of students will attest at all levels. All will remember his signature yellow tie. Will those wearing yellow ties on the stage please stand up and wave your tie? It's very easy when you only have one article of clothing, because in the morning you don't have to worry what you're going to wear. And in fact, Don has had a box of these all his life. He uses these as props. Many of his ties have disappeared as he uses them in his public lectures on chemistry. Is fun. It's amazing what a tie will do when you dip it in liquid nitrogen and hit it with a hammer. I will not present his academic credentials to you at length, because I'm sure he will give you in his comments a broad swathe of what his extensive academic career has been. It did start in the middle of the last century at Mount Allison in New Brunswick. He was supposed to leave in 1990 when he retired from Carleton, but he failed miserably. He continued to teach in the Department of Chemistry, and since that time, introducing even more and more students to his discipline, his broader scientific interests, which are extremely broad, throughout this extended professorial journey. His pupils have achieved innumerable successes throughout the world. Starting his career as a radium chemist, an appropriate start for a glowing career, he established an international reputation as a nuclear chemist. In fact, he once told me that he was the second best researcher in the world in his field, but there was only one researcher. But his courses have always been unique. His courses in nuclear chemistry were, in fact, the only one that several times only ever given in Canada. A long-time academic career always involves service. Don has fulfilled his contract before here at Carleton, serving on likely every single committee that's possible. And I especially note his removal from a committee in the Faculty of Science way back, because he kept asking the wrong, and probably therefore the sensible, questions. He's taught and consulted to industry and outside agencies. He's established a number of scholarships over the years in his name and for other people. He's contributed to the community outreach and reputation of Carleton, establishing activities in the nearby town of Almont, where he is a champion for the Almont Lecture Series. He'll give you details afterwards if you want to attend. And he is the founding and energetic president of the Carleton Retirees Association. I could go on all day, but it is, in fact, his turn. Madam Vice Chancellor, in recognition of distinguished contributions to scholarship and service to Carleton University, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa on Professor Emeritus Donald Wiles.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Faculty Senate and the Board, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto pertaining. Congratulations, Dr. Wiles.
Madam Vice Chancellor, Dr. Carruthers, Dr. Ricketts, colleagues, fellow graduands, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank my colleagues at Carleton for the honor that they bestow on me this morning, and for having made my career exciting over these many years. In my spare time, of which I have all too little, I occasionally write at my autobiography. This autobiography is to be entitled In Pursuit of Mediocrity. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I had just begun to think that I had achieved an appropriate level of mediocrity when Dr. Runta phoned me a couple of weeks ago to tell me about this honor. Her call dispelled all thoughts of my having reached the appropriate goal of mediocrity. Ah, well, now I'll have to work even harder to achieve proper mediocrity. Having been here at Carleton as a research chemist, a teacher, and occasionally an administrator, I have had much time to observe my colleagues and my students. The best students now are as good as they ever were. And it's quite clear that you, fresh graduands, have done the right thing, you've made the grade, and we congratulate you. I have noted in recent years that an increasing number of students really don't know what to do after graduation. Let it simply be suggested that many students come to university without really knowing why they do so. My opinion is that they should come to university to get an education, not specifically to get a job. So perhaps some advice on career planning is worthwhile. I can illustrate this with some of the references to my own career. How to choose a career on graduating from university or on entering university. There seem to be two extreme procedures. The first option is to set yourself a goal and go for it. Plan it carefully and don't allow yourself to deviate. That is surely an admirable idea, but only if you've chosen an appropriate goal and an achievable objective. In grade school, I wanted to be an astronomer. Then in junior high, I wanted to become a concert pianist. I would have been a disaster at both. Not everyone can be a successful lawyer, doctor, or politician, or chemist. Moreover, all of the uncontrollable factors must work out too, or else you should plan for alternatives. For example, students aiming for medical school should enroll in a program that has an alternative outcome. Biochemistry, for example, so that when your med school application is rejected, you're still in a degree program that leads to a similar result. The other extreme is to study something that you find interesting, whatever it is, and follow opportunities whenever they arise. Some examples from my own career may illustrate the point that being willing to jump at unexpected opportunities can lead to a very interesting life. In high school, I became interested in chemistry because my teacher, who was not really a very good chemist, he created an explosion one day, and I figured I must learn to do the same. I did so, by the way. Then, after graduating with my honors BSc at Mount Allison, I got into nuclear chemistry quite by accident, and only because I failed to get a teaching job in New Zealand. Okay, so I was offered a job purifying radium in Port Hope, Ontario. Well, I had never heard of radium, and I had never heard of Port Hope. But okay, let's go. I learned a lot that year, and had a very interesting time doing it. This led me into graduate school when somebody suggested that I should study nuclear chemistry at McMaster University. I'd never thought of that, but why not? Let's go. Give it a try. It worked out. My professor at McMaster later suggested I should continue to study nuclear chemistry with a famous professor at MIT. Of course, I'd never thought of it, but let's go, give it a try. There, I met a Norwegian nuclear chemist who later invited me to join him in Oslo. Sure, give it a try, let's go. I never thought of it. None of these transitions could have been forecast even a year earlier. So every time an opportunity came up, jump at it. On the way, I met many famous scientists and a lot of very interesting people. I picked up a couple of degrees and a pretty amazing wife. Not a bad idea, eh? While we were in Norway, where nobody in Canada knew where I was, I happened to meet a Canadian visitor to the university who told me that his former professor at UBC was looking for a nuclear inorganic chemist. They were pretty rare at that time, I guess. I wrote to him and was hired on the spot. So I became a research associate in metallurgical engineering. None of this could have been foreseen. A couple of years later, I began to realize that I don't like what I was doing. I don't like metallurgical research, and I'm not good at it. Thinking over my whole life, I realized that all through my life I have been a teacher. Starting already in junior high school and all the way through. Wow, what an idea. And I can teach chemistry. I have all the credentials. My subsequent life has been built around that critical decision. Coming from UBC to Carleton was another remarkable coincidence. I learned from a friend that Carleton University was looking for a nuclear inorganic chemist. Why, I didn't know, but I didn't challenge their decision. I applied, got the job, and I've been here ever since, quite happily. I've been doing lots of research, and I think some good teaching. And again, none of this could have been forecast. Without these unforeseeable coincidences, my life would perhaps have been quite different. But again, probably very interesting, with different coincidences. Perhaps I was just lucky. But I think it was in part the readiness to accept any challenge that occurred. The serious moral of this story is that you should keep your eyes open and jump at every appropriate opportunity. It might lead to something quite wonderful. I hope that your careers may be as interesting as mine has been. So, in closing, may I once again thank my colleagues at Carleton University, but more than that, I will thank my students over the many years for having made my life constantly exciting. Thank you.